Hello everyone, this is the finale of What If Naruto Told Hinata His Secret, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. The man, who identified himself as Kazama Arashi, stared into the faces of 9 people he had never seen before in his life. Only the faces of Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Kakashi held any semblance of understanding. But, that's impossible, the Yondaime D, Kyuubi. The jumbled words sprang from Sasuke's mouth as well as Hinata's. Shino was just as surprised, but he didn't show it, and Shikamaru was staring at him intensely. Rock Lee was dumbfounded, and on the verge of collapsing onto the ground, while the Sand siblings were very confused indeed. Well, I can see that some things need clearing up. Arashi said. Alright, this may come as a shock to some of you, but I wasn't able to K the Kyuubi. Not outright at least. You see, something like the Kyuubi simply can't be K, it is too powerful, and its regeneration abilities make it almost immortal. Not even the god of death was able to K it in the end, despite my hopes that it would. So I was left with only one option, I had to seal it into something. Wait a minute, we don't even know you, and you expect us to believe that you are the 4th Hokage, and you sealed the Kyuubi that attacked us into Naruto. Temari screeched at the blonde boy. I think you must have taken too many lumps on the head or something. I'll explain that. Jiraiya interrupted the conversation going on in the crowd. I don't know how, but that must be my former student. No one else, not even Naruto, could have performed the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. That was what the kunai I threw him was for. He became famous for that technique, and earned his nickname as the Yellow Flash of Konoha. But if you want more proof, just look at his cheeks, the whisker marks are gone, which shows that the Kyuubi was removed. My question is, how are you even alive? That's a good one, Jiraiya-sensei. I guess I should explain. You see, the story of Uzumaki Naruto is very long and even more complicated than many of you know or realize. If any of you have looked, you would know that there is no Uzumaki clan in Konoha. Not only that, but there never has been, and if anyone by that name ever live and in the village, then there are no records to show it. To seal an Oni such as the Kyuubi, the vessel must not have developed its chakra pathways in any shape or form. Therefore, a newly born child is needed. Oh, that makes sense, so that would explain why you chose Naruto-kun. Hinata stated, a bit worried. Her boyfriend had suddenly disappeared, and been replaced by the thought to be the Yondaime Hokage. Actually, the reason that I chose Naruto isn't nearly that sea and dried. I knew a few things when I prepared to seal the demon away. The first was that this kid would probably be wanted for its power, and therefore would need to be able to defend itself. The easiest way to do that was to use the child of a shinobi family. The only problem was that the youngest born child at the time was the Yamanaka's daughter, and I couldn't ask for them to give up the child. Wait, are you implying that Naruto is your son? Asked a startled Shikamaru, partially due to the situation, partially due to the knowledge that had things been a little bit different, Ino could have been the vessel. In a way, yes, he is my son. But I was never married, never had a wife, or a child. To understand Naruto, what he is, what he's done, you must first know a bit about his favorite technique. The Kage Bunshin no Jutsu is a kinjutsu, allowing a ninja to create solid clones out of nothing. Wait, I'm confused. Kirigakure has its Mizu Bunshin, and Orochimaru had mud clones, but why is the Kage Bunshin on the list of kinjutsu? Kakashi asked. Well, besides the fact that this seems to break the law of chemistry and physics by creating something from nothing, it uses a lot of chakra to perform. That is only part of the reason that it is included in the scroll seals. The second reason is due to what it could be used for. The 4th replied. The origins of the technique are actually from the beginnings of the village, hence why it is first on the scroll. The first Hokage actually created the technique to help him with his paperwork, and I must say, it is a lifesaver. Now why didn't I think of that? Tsunade groaned as she s her forehead with the palm of her hand. Anyway, since I didn't have any newborn babies from shinobi families, I either had to find one, or come up with another plan. What I ended up doing was improvising. I failed to K the QB outright, so I had to make a desperation backup plan, and hope that it worked. I created a cage bunshin, and poured enough chakra into it, to give it actual life. I called it Cage Bunshin no Jutsu, Sozo or Shadow Clone, Genesis. I used my own DNA and created a physical clone of myself to seal the QB into. However, the clone doesn't have a soul, and had I simply placed the QB's soul and power into the clone, the QB would have taken over, and continued its destruction. So I used another Kinjutsu, a version of Orochimaru's immortality technique, and transferred my soul into the clone as well. Since two souls cannot occupy the same body, a third soul was created as a mixture of the two. Naruto is actually a mixture of the QB's personality with my own. That is why we bear such a striking resemblance, and why we share many of the same ideals. Also, it explains why he learns jutsus so fast. A clone automatically knows all the techniques of the original, and since I knew a bunch of them, all it took was some practice. Okay, that explains how you got here, but it doesn't tell us why. Tsunade was rubbing her temples trying to digest all this information. Well, the blonde paused, taking a deep breath before he began his narrative. Flashback. Naruto was lying in a pool of water, unconscious, as the remaining members of the Akatsuki began to rip the soul of the QB out of him. Slowly he opened his eyes, to find himself in the familiar mindscape where the QB was imprisoned. He slowly got up and made his way towards the cell that held the QB prisoner. What he found wasn't a pleasant sight. The mighty demon was looking pale, and flickering in and out of existence in front of his eyes. Suddenly, with a great pulse of chakra, both Naruto and the QB disappeared. End flashback. So, the QB was removed from him. Jiraiya summed up. Yes, and along with it, Naruto. Arashi explained. Upon hearing this news, Hinata and many of Naruto's friends began to cry. The loudmouth blonde boy they had once known was no more. Tsunade had indeed lost her brother, again, and Sasuke wasn't any better. Hinata was once again bordering on the edge of shock at the thought of her love being gone forever, yet having a constant reminder that he was still there. It was more than she could bear to think about. Now, I hope that you don't think for 1 second that I intend to keep things the way they are. Arashi said, when he saw the sad expression on his rescuers' faces. Once I finish this impromptu report to Tsunade, I plan on resealing the QB inside of me, and recalling Naruto's soul. At this, the sad expressions on the faces of many began to brighten and a small smile crept on their faces, despite their watering eyes. After the removal of the QB and Naruto, I was left in sole possession of this body. You should have seen the faces on the leader's face, when I got up and decked him in the face. Arashi chuckled. Anyway, it turns out that the leader of this organization was the first body that Orochimaru used his technique on. He had some bloodline limit that allowed his soul to remain dormant until Orochimaru left him for another host. In doing so, he actually managed to absorb the snake's soul a bit, and inherited many of his abilities, as well as his ambitions. The goal of the Akatsuki was to create the perfect vessel for the leader, and the powers of the Biju would create that body, with Shukaku's defense, the Nibi's ability to heal rapidly, and the Kyubi's regeneration skills. It would be an invincible vessel, never aging, or growing weaker. But during our, rather anticlimactic fight, Orochimaru himself actually showed up, and reabsorbed his former container's soul, instead of simply containing it. That's why the body over there is D. He motioned towards the body of the leader of the now defunct organization. Since the snake bastard didn't know about my soul inhabiting Naruto's body, he thought he was fighting Naruto. Well, let's just say that Kabuto cannot take a Rasengan to the head and live to talk about it. The snake still didn't recognize me though, and we fought for a good time. It was almost 3 hours from the start of our fight, until you guys showed up. It wouldn't have been as long, but I was really low on chakra, and being unconscious for 2 days doesn't help either. Wait, I thought that to drain the chakra of a Biju as strong as the QB would take weeks, but it seems to have taken only a couple of days. What happened? Jiraiya asked. Well, it seems that as a side effect of having 3 souls, the QB's soul wasn't as well anchored as it should have been, and when you mix that with the damn foxes want to leave, he was able to get out rather quickly. Arashi explained. What was that move that you K Orochimaru with? Asked Jiraiya. I haven't seen you do that one before. Oh, that's something I just created, the Rasengan. It uses the trust from Kakashi's Reikiri, along with the Hiraishin. I thought that you couldn't perform the thrust of the Chidori without a Sharingan to anticipate the enemy's counter-attack. Sasuke said in a confused manner. That's true, but with Sensei's Harasshin, he is too fast for anyone to counter-attack him. So he can do the thrust as long as he uses the Harasshin without worrying. Kakashi explained. Wait, Tsunade interrupted, how can you reseal the Kyuubi, won't you die in the process? Actually, since the Kyuubi's soul is a part of this body, it won't kill the body, and since our souls will inhabit the same container again, Naruto's soul should return. Arashi explained. Turning towards a large statue in the background, Arashi preformed a large number of hand seals before naming his jutsu. Nagasuka Haku Fuan no Jutsu. Draining Soul Seal Technique. Suddenly a large amount of red chakra began to seep towards the blonde boy, before connecting with his small form. After a few minutes of stunned silence, 2 flashes of light descended on the form of Naruto, Yondaime before exploding into a large flash of light. When everyone's eyes readjusted to the scene, they found Naruto's body lying on the ground, unconscious but breathing, and the statue that previously held the soul and energy of the Kyuubi, cracked and falling apart. Tsunade and Hinata rushed forward to check on the fallen boy. It's all right, he's just passed out from exhaustion. Chuan reported. A wave of relief flooded the remaining members of the rescue party. Lifting Naruto, Tsunade walked over to the group and simply nodded. Let's go back. These people can never bother anyone again, she said and began the trek to return to Konoha. Naruto woke up to find himself in a familiar hallway, filled with water and pipes. What does the damn fox want now? He grumbled out loud. He began to walk down the familiar passage, until it made an unexpected turn. Instead of finding himself in front of a large foreboding cage, he found himself in a wide open field, surprisingly reminiscent of Konoha. What the hell? Since when did the fur ball move? The Kyuubi isn't here, a voice declared from behind the blonde. Naruto spun around to confront himself. Who are you? He yelled at the familiar figure. My name is Kazama Arashi. I am the Yondaime, the figure said. What the hell? What are you doing here? Naruto asked in a loud voice. Well, it's a long story. The Yondaime said. I'm sure you know that I sealed the Kyuubi into you, and that the power you contain is too powerful for anyone whose inner coils have solidified. Yeah, Ero Sennin said something like that. The young blonde said. Well, you see, there weren't any children who I could entrust to hold the Kyuubi, so I made you. The Yondaime said. What? You made me? Naruto screamed at the older golden-headed man. The blonde man flinched at the screaming. Yeah, I made you. In reality you are a shadow clone so advanced that you became self-sustaining. That's the reason that Kage Bunshin is on the scroll of seals, because if Orochimaru got his hands on it, he could create unlimited amounts of B that he could take. Naruto finished the sentence for the famous Hokage. Yes, was the only response he received. I don't know whether or not you heard this before, but I never imagined that the villages would react to you like that. I thought that they would hold you as a hero for imprisoning the Kyuubi. I'm sorry that I was wrong. Naruto just sat down on the grass across from the blonde in his white robes. For a while silence permeated throughout the field. You know, for about 6 months after I found out about the Kyuubi, I didn't know what to think about you. Naruto said in a serious tone of voice. Up until I was 12, I adored you and the old man. You were someone to look up to, the Yondaime Hokage, greatest ninja in the no world. Then I find out that you sealed that fox in me, and I was confused. The third told me that it was your wish that the village treat me like a hero, and they were just too stupid to see me for who I was. But, I just couldn't get the idea that this was another one of Kami's jokes at my expense, out of my head. I don't think it was until I left with the perverted hermit, that I was able to bury those thoughts. You did what had to be done for the village. After the Chunin exams, I began to see many different people in the village as my precious people. I would gladly die for them, and yet they call for my head on a pole. During his monologue, Naruto's face had fallen from his usual grin to a flat line bordering on a scowl. Suddenly, his 1,000-watt smile came back. Oh, well, I'll just become the Hokage and make sure that they finally see me for who I am. With this statement, the face of the entrapped Kage sprung into an identical smile. Well, since you are technically a clone of me, you'll instinctively know all of my jutsus. How about I teach you a few of since you probably won't awaken for a week or so. Yosh. Alright, let's do this. X. The group returning to Konoha. Using a large amount of chakra and soldier pills, the group made it back to the village in a day, as compared to the day and 3/4 that it took them to arrive at the cave. Tsunade was constantly checking on Naruto, who was being supported by Gaara's sand, to make sure that the reintegration of the Nine Tails wasn't harming her adopted brother. Since they were just outside of the village, and no one was in any need of urgent medical attention, they took a break and rested for a while. Around her, Tsunade heard the rest of the group was conversing about their newfound knowledge. Okay, to be fair, there wasn't a lot of conversation going on, seeing as almost everyone was dumbstruck at the new developments. Sasuke could only go over his history with the blonde shinobi who had declared himself to be the Uchiha's brother. Sure, Naruto could be an idiotic dobe, who couldn't do a bunch to save his life, but then oftentimes he was the one that would risk his own neck to save a member of his team or finish the mission. Images of Naruto throwing himself in front of a giant snake, saving Sasuke from being eaten in the Forest of Death, or Naruto driving a Rasengan into the blade of the Raijin no Ken, Thunder God Sword, and breaking it, when the Chidori couldn't, flashed through the mind of the surviving Uchiha. In a way, all of Naruto's actions made it seem as if he really was two different people, and now he knew why. Meanwhile, Hinata was sitting with Tsunade and Naruto, just watching the steady rise and fall of his chest, proving that her boyfriend was alive and well. They were suddenly joined by the Kazekage. May I talk with you? He asked Hinata. Sure, she said. Gaara led him away from the camp. My brother and sister told me that you were able to destroy a cloud nin, who was D. Gaara said, emotionlessly. IB broke a SS seal on his chest. She said, trying to tame her stutter. You wouldn't happen to be the vessel of a demon, would you? He asked after a moment's thought. Hinata gasped. How did you know? I don't know, if Uzumaki Naruto told you, but I am the vessel of Shukaku, the sand demon. I thought it would be nice to get to know as many vessels as I could. What demon do you carry? He asked. I am the V vessel for the N-Nibi. She is a SSW swan demon from Kumogakur. Hinata said, calming her stutter a small amount. The two demon vessels continued to talk for a while. They discussed their upbringing, and how they dealt with their respective burdens. In doing this, they discovered that they both thought very highly of Naruto and both owed him much for helping to change their lives. When the group returned to Konoha, Tsunade and Jiraiya quickly took Naruto to the hospital, so that he could continue to absorb the chakra of the Kyuubi where they could help him if anything went wrong. After checking on his condition, Tsunade returned to her office to check on Shizune, who she had left in charge while she was away. When she walked into her office, she was greeted by both of her apprentices, who were awaiting her arrival. Tsunade-sensei, where were you? Sakura asked. I had an urgent mission, Sakura. Tsunade said. Oh, what was it about? The floral-headed girl asked. Sakura, what I say is not to leave this room, until I am ready to break the news to all of the shinobi in the village. Do I make myself clear? Hi, what happened? Why is it a secret? Sakura asked. A joint operation consisting of myself, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Guy, Uchiha Sasuke, Aburame Shino, Rock Lee, Hyuga Hinata, Nara Shikamaru, Sabaka no Temari, Sabaka no Kankuro, and the Kazekage went on an S-class mission to rescue Naruto and destroy the Akatsuki. The Hokage explained. This elicited a gasp of fright from Sakura. Is everyone okay? What happened? She asked in a frantic manner. The Akatsuki abducted Naruto for reasons that I won't tell you about right now, and we were forced to rescue him. The organization was made up of S-class criminals, hence why such high-class shinobi of our own were needed. Tsunade explained. Everyone is fine, except for Naruto, who is sleeping due to chakra exhaustion. Sakura bowed and exited the room to go check on her comrade. What really happened, Tsunade-sama? Shizune asked. The Hokage just smiled and said. You won't believe it, even after you hear it. She then proceeded to tell the complete story to Shizune, who took notes for a mission report. 1 week later, Kakashi, Hinata, and Sasuke were sitting in Naruto's room, waiting for the blonde loudmouth to awaken. Sakura had come in earlier, but due to her duty as a medic nin, she had to leave to check on her other patients. Shortly after noon, Naruto's eyes began to twitch and fluttered open. Upon seeing her boyfriend conscious for the first time in nearly 2 weeks, Hinata immediately pulled the groggy teenager into a hug. Good to see you're awake, Naruto, Kakashi said, in a lazy drawl. Naruto made to answer his chronically late sensei, but no words came out. Here, drink some water, Sasuke said, as he handed his teammate best friend a glass of water, which Naruto quickly downed. Hey, what happened? Why am I in the hospital? The last thing I remember was being blasted in the face by an exploding note, Naruto asked in mild confusion. Then, something happened to the stupid fox, and the next thing I remember, I'm talking with the Yondaime of all people. What happened? Quickly, Hinata and Sasuke launched into the tale of his abduction and the Kyuubi's extraction and eventual rescue. When they asked about what the Yondaime had said, Naruto told them of the mental training he had done with his dad. Finally taking note of his surroundings, Naruto noticed that there were a large number of gifts from his friends. Flowers from Ino, ramen from Shuji and Shikamaru, a card from the members of Team 8 that didn't go with them, as well as Ten and Neji. When Tsunade and Sakura heard that Naruto had awoken, they rushed into his room to check on him and make sure everything had turned out all right. Ba-chan, Sakura-chan, Naruto, what have I said about calling me that? Tsunade growled. I'm glad to see you're awake again, Naruto, but how did you get captured in the first place? Sakura asked. They put an exploding note on my door. Naruto pouted at his method of abduction. The rest of the day was spent recounting the exploits of the rescue team, while glossing over the fact that Naruto was a shadow clone of the fourth Hokage, or that the Kyuubi was sealed into him, twice. The sun sank lower into the sky, until around 7 o'clock it disappeared completely. When Tsunade was convinced that the seal wasn't weakened or broken, she allowed Naruto to leave the hospital. Hey, Ba-chan, where am I going to live? I can't go back to the apartment if there isn't a landlord, can I? The blonde shinobi asked. He can spend the night with me, Hokage-sama. Sasuke replied. Really? Thanks Sasuke, gushed Naruto. All right, tonight you can stay with Sasuke, but tomorrow, you'll have to look for a new apartment. I had all of your belongings transferred into a personal storage container in my name, so you don't have to worry about them. The Hokage said. Okay, can I ask you for a favor? Naruto said, in a suddenly serious tone. That would depend on what this favor is, Tsunade said. Well, I figured that since most of my friends know about the Kyuubi I might as well let the others know as well, so I was hoping you could call them into your office or something so I could tell them. Naruto said. All right, I can do that. What time would work for you? She asked. Pretty much whenever is fine, but might as well make it before lunch, so I can still go house hunting. Naruto explained. With that, Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke left the hospital and headed towards the Hyuga compound to drop off Hinata. At the gate, Naruto said a quick good night to Hinata and returned her previous K, this time leaving her the one rooted to the ground. Good night, Hinata-chan, I'll see you tomorrow, Naruto called out. Hinata simply waved her goodbye before heading inside. When Naruto and Sasuke arrived at his apartment, Naruto was impressed by how clean it was. I never would have picked you as the compulsive cleaning type, Sasuke. The blonde joked. Sasuke simply shrugged his shoulders and muttered something that sounded suspiciously like Dobe, before showing Naruto around. The two friends ate dinner and talked about different things well into the night before they split off and went to sleep. Maybe tomorrow, I can finally start a new life, Naruto thought before sleep caught up with him. The day of Naruto's revelation dawned as normal as most days. He awoke in an unfamiliar setting, before remembering that he had slept in Sasuke's apartment. He got up and headed towards the kitchen, finding Sasuke already up and eating. As Naruto sat down, Sasuke handed him a note from Tsunade. Naruto, I set up the meeting for 10 a.m., so make sure you're there. Tsunade, I bet she's sleeping when we get there, Naruto remarked to himself. After breakfast, the two boys walked over to the Hyuga compound to pick up Hinata. The indigo-headed girl met them at 9:30, so they were in plenty of time to make it to the Hokage's office. The trio made their way up the winding staircase and into the waiting room. Since Shizune was asleep, they quietly made their way inside the office, nodding to the Chunin guards and the Anbu stationed around the office. As expected, at least by Naruto, the Godime was asleep on her desk, blonde hair falling over her head, protecting her from the sun's harsh rays. Naruto snickered as he thought of ways to wake the sleeping women. Neither Hinata nor Sasuke had ever seen the Hokage asleep at work, so they didn't know how to approach her. Hinata was about to walk over and shake her awake, until Naruto's hand on her shoulder stopped her forward movement. Not a good idea, Hinata-chan. Here, watch this, her boyfriend explained. He quickly made a shadow clone and sent it on its mission, from which there would be no return. The clone made its way to the side of the Hokage, before it took a mighty breath and yelled. Hiya, Baa-chan. Before anyone could cringe from the loud noise, there was a loud poof, and a plume of smoke as the clone was instantly destroyed by a fist to the skull. The two newcomers to this ritual cringed in fear of that clone being a human being. Huh, what's going on? Came the dumb response of the Hokage. Clearing the sleep from her eyes, she noticed the three arrivals to her office. Oh, is it 10 already? She asked. In answer to her question, the members of the Rookie 9 Feet arrived, wondering why they were summoned. Next to the Hokage, stood Naruto and Hinata. Sasuke had moved to stand with the group. Well, I suggest that we get this over with, since I have an apartment to hunt. Naruto said, grinning. You've all been assembled today, damn that sounds stupid, anyway, I had you all come here because I think it's time that I get some stuff off my chest. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being my friends or caring for me in some way. When I was younger, without you guys, I probably wouldn't be who I am today. As you are all aware, 16 years ago, the demon fox, Kyuubi attacked our village, wreaking havoc and taking the lives of many brave shinobi and civilians. The stupid fox was winning, until the Yondaime Hokage came to the battlefield, on the frog boss Gamabunta. Using a forbidden jutsu, he was able to destroy the Kyuubi, at the cost of his life. As some of you know, that is a lie, fabricated by the Sandaime. The truth is that Yondaime sealed the soul and chakra of the demon into a human vessel, so that the fox's power would eventually meld with its vessel, and its soul would transcend this earth along with the soul of its vessel. If you can't see where this is going, I am the vessel of the demon fox Kyuubi. Naruto said, his voice never wavering or faltering. The admission shocked those in the room who didn't already know. While the group was collectively pondering this fact, the thought once again occurred to Sakura that she didn't know her teammates at all. Actually, the thought was running through the minds of all of those present. For the longest time, no one said anything, making Naruto nervous. He was afraid that they would abandon him, although this time, he would at least have friends. Why didn't you tell us earlier? Ino asked, confusion lacing her voice. Well, I guess it was because I didn't know until I was 12, when Mizuki told me, then I was afraid that you would all abandon me if you found out. There was also the law that the Sandaime put into effect to make sure that I would have a fair chance to make friends my age. Naruto explained. Why would it matter if kids didn't know? Tenten asked. Because, despite the Yondaime's wish for Naruto to be treated as a hero, the village has never seen him in that light. People despise him and blame him for their losses. For these people, time hasn't healed any wound, it has simply rubbed salt into them. Neji explained. As the only Junin in the group, he had become aware of Naruto's predicament. You mean that people blame Naruto for what the Kyuubi did to the village? Sakura asked, in obvious disbelief. Looking at the occupants of the room, she saw a sea of bobbing heads. Shino, Sasuke, Lee, Hinata, and the Hokage were all nodding their head in confirmation. This caused both Ino and Sakura to become angry at the ignorance of the village. Now, I have something else I'd like to say. Naruto brought the group back to attention. To seal a being as powerful as the Kyuubi, the vessel must have chakra coils that haven't solidified yet. Therefore, the vessel must be a newborn baby. Unfortunately, there wasn't a baby that the Yondaime could use. He didn't have one of his own, and he couldn't simply ask for someone to donate their child, so he had to improvise. If any of you noticed, I share a remarkable resemblance to the Yondaime. Some of you may have believed that I am his son, but truthfully I am a very advanced shadow clone. This made the group that hadn't gone on the rescue mission gasp in shock and surprise. What do you mean a shadow clone? Neji asked. During the fight with the Kyuubi, the Yondaime had to find a child who had recently been born. He assumed that whichever child he chose would be wanted for the power of the Kyuubi, and wanted the child to be from an established shinobi family. Since he couldn't find a baby fitting those specifications, he used a kinjutsu, Kage Bunshin, Sozo to create life from nothing. Naruto is a true clone of the Yondaime, who knows every technique ever used by the Yondaime. Tsunade explained. The majority of the room was contemplating this new bit of information. If Naruto was indeed a clone of the Yondaime, then he knew all of the Yondaime's attacks, and when you add that to the chakra and power of the Kyuubi, damn. Tsunade then went on to relate the tale of the rescue mission and the subsequent downfall of the Akatsuki and Orochimaru. The group was awestruck that the Yondaime had possessed Naruto in order to kill Orochimaru. When the storytelling was done, everyone just stood or sat in the office of the Hokage for a while, in a state of shock. Almost every major enemy of their village was dead, and all in the space of 2 months. People started to file out around 12:30 for lunch, everyone assuring Naruto that they still viewed him as their friend and not as a demon. These assurances brought Naruto a newfound joy in his life. He would always have friends who would stick by him, despite being the vessel for the demon fox. 5 months had passed since the fall of Orochimaru and Otogakure, along with the total destruction of the criminal organization Akatsuki. Spring had brought a newfound life to the village of Konoha, and with it renewed trade with Suna. The Junin exams had been held in late January. Almost every one of the Chunin 9 had participated, with the exception of Ino, Shikamaru, and Sasuke. Ino had been accepted as the protégé of Morino Ibiki, the torture specialist. She was expanding her family's jutsu to help in the interrogation of enemy ninja. She was perfectly happy to remain a Chunin, at least for the time being. Shikamaru had never wanted to become a Junin and didn't need to, if he wanted to become the strategist of the village. Sasuke's suspension had been lifted shortly after the rescue mission returned, but he still needed to pass the Chunin exam. He had already received offers to join both the Hunter Nins as well as Anbu, and was considering both, leaning towards the Anbu option. The test consisted of only 2 parts. The first was a tournament, much like the Chunin exams, but instead of limiting the field to 10, the field was C to 20. The second part was an A-class mission, to be completed in teams of 5. All of the Chunins who had graduated with Naruto passed the first part of the exam, except for Kiba, who had the unfortunate luck to face Rock Lee, and Shuji, who fought an experienced Chunin to a draw. The group of 20 was divided into 4 teams for the second part and given their mission. Naruto had the great luck to find himself on the same team as Shino, Hinata, and 2 more experienced Chunin, including the replacement for Mizuki at the academy. Their mission was a fairly straightforward retrieval mission. A scroll from Kirigakure, containing a schematic of the village's defense, had been stolen by a missing ninja, and was being auctioned off on the black market to Iwagakure. The only real reason that this was considered an A-class mission and not a B-class was the involvement of Stone Ninja, who still harbored grudges against Konoha from the Third Great Ninja Wars. The group had made it to the small outpost where the exchange was supposed to take place, and waited for the new nin to arrive. When he did, Shino quickly attached his Kikai bugs to the ninja, preventing him from using jutsu, and the 2 older Chunin moved in to take possession of the information. After dispatching of the missing nin, the group made a quick retreat towards Konoha. Shino was using his bugs to scout in front of the group, and Hinata's Byakugan was covering the rear. About midway between the village and the meeting place, Hinata signaled that they were being tracked by Iwa ninja. There were only 3 of them, but they were all Junin. It would be best to avoid them and return to the village. Naruto simply made a large number of shadow clones as a distraction, and the group left a number of traps to ward off the following ninja. In the end, the mission was a success, although only Shino and Naruto were promoted. The other 2 Chunin were told that they weren't quite ready for the missions they would take as Junin, and Hinata was offered an apprenticeship with the hospital, to further her medical studies. Naruto made his way towards the Hyuga compound to pick up Hinata for a date. The warm sun was beginning to lower in the western sky as he knocked on the door. Moments later Hinata appeared and the 2 headed off towards a nice restaurant on the edge of the village. It was a nice meal and the pair discussed the different things they were doing in their new jobs. "I'm starting to do basic surgeries," Hinata explained. "Nothing too big, mostly just small bone fragments in non-vital spots on the body. The most difficult one I've had to do was an appendectomy." "Yeah, how did that go?" the blonde asked. "It was routine, so no major problems, it wasn't even an emergency removal, and it was just a precaution." The Hyuga heiress explained. That's great, Hinata-chan, I kinda wish I had cool stuff like that to do. Naruto whined. But I can't complain too much, the missions I've been getting have been interesting at least. I got to go back to Wave Country and visit Inari and his family. They had requested some help with some grass ninja that were encroaching on the village. The remainder of dinner was eaten quickly and soon the pair was walking around Konoha. During the course of their relationship, they had gotten into a habit of going out for a meal and then walking around, simply discussing whatever happened to be on their minds at the time, until Hinata had to return to her home. Tonight's topic of conversation was brought up by Hinata. Naruto-kun, there's something I want to talk with you about. The young woman said, reverting to her shy nature. Well, the council, they want me to get married by December. At this point in her speech, Naruto interrupted her. I know, Hinata-chan, your father explained the deal to me a while ago, I was waiting for you to bring it up so we could discuss it. I want to know how you feel about it, he asked. For a moment Hinata didn't respond, simply staring at the ground, finding something fascinating hidden among the pebbles and dirt. Naruto-kun, I don't mind the proposal of the clan, I just didn't know how you would react. She explained. I don't mind it at all, Hinata-chan, I love you and I doubt that I'll ever stop loving you. I'm more worried about how everyone would take it, if we got engaged. You know, the whole, noble clan heiress and the demon, thing. He smiled at the last part, unable to keep a straight face. I think that the village should keep out of my life, as well as the clan. She stated firmly. You know, Naruto said in a mock-serious tone of voice, when I become the Hokage, you'll be pulled even more into the village life. He mocked her. This caused the formerly shy girl to giggle at her boyfriend's antics. Hinata-chan, I've got a question for you, said Naruto as he interrupted her fit of laughter. When your dad told me about the agreement, he said that you would have asked me to marry you if you weren't so shy. Is that true? Hinata blushed a brilliant shade of crimson, but stared directly into Naruto's eyes as she answered. Hi, Naruto-kun, I've been in love with you since the academy, and I don't think I could imagine marrying anyone but you. For a moment, there was a pause in dialogue between the two. It was Naruto who broke the silence after a minute. Well, then Hyuga Hinata, would you marry me? You know, when we get older and are ready for it. He asked. He suddenly felt as if his stomach was going to tie itself into a knot and squeeze until it broke in half. Hinata simply stared at her boyfriend reading his emotions as if they were a book. He was nervous, which showed that he really was sincere on his offer. Fighting back the tears that began to well up in the corners of her eyes, Hinata grabbed Naruto in what would be described as a bone-crushing hug. She quickly lost her battle against her tears and began to cry on his shoulder, whispering the words. Yes, Naruto-kun, I'll marry you. 7 years had passes in Konoha, since the return of an eventual marriage of Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hinata. They had both progressed throughout the ninja ranks rapidly. Naruto had accomplished more missions in his first year than any other Junin in the history of the village. Hinata had proven herself to be an accomplished medic and clan leader. Under her reign the Hyuga clan had reformed itself, there was no longer the hideous division between main and branch families, and the use of the caged bird seal was outlawed. It had taken him over 18 years, but Uzumaki Naruto had achieved recognition from the village. He wasn't Hokage yet, but everyone said it was only a matter of time before the blonde man would become the next leader of the Leaf Village. He had proven himself more than trustworthy to the other ninja on many different missions, ranging from assassination, to retrieval, to guard duty. When war threatened to engulf the ninja world, Naruto had played a role in solidifying peace. The Stone Village had gained the official record, claiming Naruto to be the Yondaim's son, and quickly backed down from war. The Mist Village also stopped their efforts upon hearing of the news, and Sunagakure had never been a threat to start war, Gaara proving to be one of the strongest Kazekages in the village's history. As noted by many different people throughout the history of Konoha, the rookie 9 feet had indeed grown to become some of the most accomplished ninja in the history of the village. Uchiha Sasuke was an Anbu captain, and leading candidate to eventually take over the special forces. His only real companion came from Hyuga Neji, who had amassed an impressive record in terms of missions. Chuji had decided that he was happy teaching at the academy along with Tenten, who had become engaged to Neji only recently. Shikamaru was in Anbu as the chief strategist and was still dating Temari from Suna, saying, "It's just too troublesome to get married, but don't let my girlfriend hear that I said that or she'll K me." The last member of the former Genin Team 10, Yamanaka Ino, was now Sabaka no Ino, having married the Kazekage's older brother Kankuro. They have a small 2-year-old son who has his father's messy hair, but instead of dirty brown, he sports a shocking blonde. The pair lives in Konoha, where Ino is the chief interrogator, and Kankuro has become a private tutor. Shino had a distinguished career in both Anbu and the Hunter Nin, before taking over as head of the Aberrane clan. Kiba has done very well, becoming the best Hunter Nin in the village, along with his partner, Akamaru. Haruno Sakura became the head of hospital in Konoha, following in the footsteps of her mentor and sensei, Tsunade. She is more than likely the strongest medic in the known shinobi world, and is as feared as Tsunade. She has married Rock Lee and the couple has 2 children, a boy and a girl who have inherited their mother's pink hair, but none of their father's hair traits. As Naruto put it upon seeing them, "Thank Kami, we don't have to worry about more fuzzy brows." Even recovering from childbirth, one of Sakura's punches still hurts. Lee has grown into a fine Junin and instructor to his own team of Genin. Despite all attempts by his wife to change his wardrobe, he resists. Absolutely none of this information was floating through the mind of Uzumaki Naruto at the moment. He was walking home in a daze, occasionally bumping into people and the occasional newspaper stand. He headed towards the Hyuga estates, where he lived with his wife of just over 3 years, Hinata, and the 2-year-old son, Shinta. Technically, they lived just off the compound, but it was close enough for most people to simply call it inside the jurisdiction of the Hyuga. Naruto walked inside to find his son playing on the floor, while Hinata was sitting on a couch watching. Shinta had inherited his mother's Byakugan and dark hair, but it stuck up in all kinds of unnatural directions like his father. Naruto strolled over to his wife and sank into the soft couch. He simply watched his son play without saying anything. He was staring at his son when he broke the silence. "Tsunade Bar-chan's retiring, and she named me Rokudaime," he said, breaking into his infamous grin. "That's great, you've always wanted to be Hokage, congratulations." Hinata said, "K him. Yay. Dars. Important." Shinta echoed from his position on the floor. "Course I'm important. Now how about we celebrate, at Ichiraku's?" This got a groan from Hinata and a loud, "Yeah." From Shinta. "I guess things haven't changed that much in 7 years." That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.